There have been many things I have learnt about the technologies used throughout this process. One form of technology that I have learnt to use is the camera. The camera which we had used was the Panasonic camera with a focus ring. Using this had enabled us to experiment with how the camera lens was to blur out and how it could be effective to attract our audience into watching our opening sequence. When using the camera, you have to be very considerate about how you use the camera to get the right angles, movement and shot types, and you have to make sure you get the right things, otherwise it messes up the whole scene and the atmosphere that is trying to be created for your audience watching. You also have to be very aware of the composition of the camera, and you have to make sure that you have placed it in the right spot in order to catch the action that you are trying to get. I have also learnt how to use the Max and Final Cut Pro. Before I started this process, I had no experience of using Max and Final Cut. However, since the preliminary exercise, I have further developed my knowledge on how to use the Mac and Final Cut. When I had first used Final Cut, I had very little knowledge on how to import media that we had filmed and how to actually form a sequence to create a clear narrative so that the audience are able to understand the genre of the film. I had some practice using Final Cut before constructing the trailer by doing an example of our opening sequence to develop the skills to construct together the trailer of our film and how to make it as realistic as I could. Another form of technology that I used was the internet. We used the internet so that we were able to do research before we constructed together the sequence, so that we was able to understand the different iconographies that are used in vampire films and how we could make ours the most effective vampire sequence that we could. I had also used Blogger to upload any work that was required. At the beginning of the course, we needed to set up a blog. I was not very knowledgeable on how to do this, but from the help from one of my peers, I was able to set one up. I didn't know how to upload work from Scriptd, but again, once I had help from my peers, I was able to upload my work. There has been many different skills learnt throughout this process, but however, there are still skills that can be learnt, such as I have not yet figured out everything on Final Cut, as there are many different features, but however, I have learnt the basics of using Final Cut and have developed my skills by using the camera and how precise you must be when filming.